laps ahead of us around this 3.83 mile circuit, 27 corners, 16 to the left and 11 to the right. More corners on this track than any other circuit on the Formula One calendar, and it's the second longest in distance, and it's fast, very fast. You take your lap distance at full throttle for 80% of your lap here, and there are only 6 braking events, 2 of which are described as heavy throughout the 27 corners. Hamilton against Verstappen against Ocon, one of the 3 standing starts we had last year. Ocon emerging into the lead of the race. This is the only race other than Hungary that he won that he's ever led. Mick Schumacher had a crash in qualifying. He had a crash here last year as well. Mick Schumacher won't take part in tonight's race, and this was the big dramatic moment at the end of a dramatic night. Hamilton and Verstappen colliding as they were jockeying to see who might appear down the DRS zone in front. Well, if Hamilton and Verstappen get together tonight, one of them's either had a very good race or one's having a very bad race. Here's the 3 tyre compound: C4 for the soft, C3 for the medium, C2 for the hard. High tyre degradation during Friday practice, so the soft tyre not the favoured tyre for this evening. Here's the starting grid then, and Yuki Tsunoda won't start. He was on the formation lap to the grid and his engine cut out. Nicholas Latifi had a crash in qualifying, starts 18th, alongside Hulkenberg 17th for the second successive race. Alex Albon is 16th, Lewis Hamilton, worst qualifying performance on pure pace since 2009. Daniel Ricciardo gets a 3-place grid penalty for impeding Esteban Ocon, now starts alongside Lance Stroll. Zhou Guan Yu starts 12th alongside Lando Norris, who missed out on Q3 by only 300ths of a second. Kevin Magnussen was complaining of his neck hurting, lines up 10th. Pierre Gasly is just ahead of him in 9th. Valtteri Bottas 8th, and still maintaining that record of Q3 appearances, keeps Fernando Alonso company. George Russell 6th, the lead Mercedes car, alongside Esteban Ocon this evening. And then we get to the second row. Max Verstappen starts 4th, beaten at qualifying for only the second time by Perez. Carlos Sainz 3rd, Charles Leclerc starts 2nd, alongside Sergio Perez. 11 years to the day that he made his Formula One debut. Car number 11 starts on pole position for the first time, and good evening to you all in Mexico. Well, should I say good morning, because guess what, Jensen Button? It's 11 o'clock for the race start in Mexico.
Wow, I think everybody is going to be glued to the TV watching this one. Checo Perez, fantastic.
This was Mick Schumacher yesterday. Now, he was taken to hospital for a precautionary scan after a 170-mile-an-hour high-speed crash. He emerged absolutely fine. He's been talking in the paddock before the race, and he's in very good spirits indeed. Why is he taking his hands off the steering wheel with the impact there? But the Haas team have decided that he won't run in the race purely because if he has another accident, they might not have enough spares to go racing in Australia in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, as you said, he also crashed here last year. It's such a tricky course, and he's hit the barriers twice. So yesterday's was a big one. I think we all held our breath when he went into the wall at exit of turn 11. Big impact, lost it on the curve on the exit of turn 11 and into the wall, into the concrete wall, which is a big impact. Car basically fell apart as it's supposed to do, and he was a bit shaken, but he won't be taking the start, probably the right decision.
And for the start, free choice of tyres for the entire field, and it's the medium compound for the majority of the field, except Kevin Magnussen, who starts on the hards, Nico Hulkenberg, who starts on the hards, and Lewis Hamilton, who starts on the hard. Now he's down in 15th. They're going long, or trying to go long for a first stint.
They've got to try something different. You know, it's not the easiest track to overtake on. We haven't driven here with the 2022 cars, which is supposed to be able to run a lot closer, so we should have more overtaking opportunities. But this definitely changes their strategy and gives them more opportunities.
And away they go then on the formation lap. All 18 cars taking the starts of this race. Just to repeat, no Yuki Tsunoda. Franz Tost was saying it was a drivetrain issue that might have affected his Red Bull powertrain, and no Mick Schumacher. Here's the predicted pit stop strategy, powered by AWS. One stop, say Pirelli, the 2 stop slightly slower, but it's only the second race, Jensen, on these new tyres, the 18-inch wheels. So once again, it's a bit of a voyage into the unknown for these cars.
It is, definitely, and as we know with the new regulations, these cars can run closer, so it's not like you can just take it easy while you're leading. You know, you're going to be pushed around the whole time, so it's going to be a much more aggressive race. But to be fair, on a 2-stop strategy, I would expect to be able to stop more than 2 laps earlier than a 1-stop. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't seem like a big difference.
Certainly not. Well, we'll see how it goes. Well done to McLaren. Fastest pit stop of the first round in Bahrain. 2.31 seconds for Daniel Ricciardo. And they're cruising around at the moment on the formation lap as a very big cruise liner parks itself on the shores of the Red Sea, just by this track. Lewis Hamilton, when he was lower down the grid last year, we saw him hanging back a bit, cruising a little bit more than some of the others. Does he employ that tactic tonight? And if he does, why?
He probably won't actually, because he's on the hard tyre. He's going to want to work them as hard as he possibly can. It's much more difficult this year to get tyre temperature because of the regulations. So it's going to be tricky for him to get them working. So he's not going to be holding back. But the reason why he did that is so that the cars at the start of the grid, their tyres start cooling down for the start of.
Turn 1 becomes tricky. So they're all just slowing down now to take final hair before they line up on the grid. Lewis Hamilton making his 180th start for Mercedes this evening, which is quite significant because he breaks a record in doing so for the most starts for a single constructor by any driver in Formula One history, breaking Michael Schumacher's record of 179 starts with Ferrari. Difficult night ahead for him. Maybe a difficult night for Max Verstappen as well, and we can just see in the background what can he do from 4th place with 2 Ferraris between himself and his teammates.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see because it's going to be difficult to warm these tyres. The first 2 laps are going to be key. You're going to see the cars moving around a lot. That's why they're doing quite a few burnouts here to get that tyre temperature, to give them a bit more confidence, which they'll need through those high-speed corners on lap 1 and 2.
And it was a race against time in the Ferrari garage to get Carlos Sainz out onto the track. They had an issue with the wiring loom in the car. They were working on it for about 45 minutes. I did say, was Lewis Hamilton going to hang back a little bit? And well, he's still making his way to the grid, and Sergio Perez has been sat there for a while.
Yeah, I think he's making sure he's got enough of a gap so he can prepare his tyres as he's been told to do by the team, so he's nice and ready for when the lights go out.
There is only a 230-metre run from pole down to the first braking zone. It's the first official pole for Sergio Perez since his GP2 days at Valencia in 2010. How's he going to fare? Here we are in Jeddah then. It's lights out and away we go. Perez does get away well, comes over to cover off Leclerc. Carlos Sainz is forced to the outside. Max Verstappen getting keen on the inside with Carlos Sainz, but Perez leads him through the first corner. From Leclerc, Verstappen getting past Carlos Sainz. Hamilton ahead of the fast starting Williams. It's Perez now ahead of Charles Leclerc. Then comes Max Verstappen, Sainz, Esteban Ocon, George Russell, and Fernando Alonso in the other Alpine. Getting detached to the back is Zhou Guanyu in the Haas, and there goes Kevin Magnussen in the Alfa Romeo. There goes Kevin Magnussen battling away with Pierre Gasly through turn 8. That was very close indeed. For Sergio Perez, job well done. He's gone away at the start and he's stretching his lead.
That's a great start for Perez. Great start by Max as well. That was such an important move to get Carlos off the line. He's only got to worry about 1 Ferrari in front, but some great moves out of Kevin's move. That was a brave one.
And he might have needed to do it as well. Got himself ahead of Pierre Gasly from 10th now up into 9th. New rules, new regulations, easier to overtake, we're not quite sure, certainly easier to follow out on the track, but can they follow Sergio Perez? Because he's got through the twisty bits, Red Bull have had the pace advantage down the straights, and he'll look to get at least a 1.5 second advantage by the time they cross the line at the end of lap 1.
Yeah, the first 4 have been able to get their tyres up to temperature pretty quickly, the rest of the pack not so much, and I think that just shows the downforce that these first 4 cars have, but yeah, this is really good for Checo at the moment. He's got a little gap. DRS obviously isn't activated yet, but he wants to get a nice gap for when it is.
Right behind Lewis Hamilton, Alex Albon was just looking to try and make a move. These two have made contact before in the closing stages, of course. In Brazil, Albon has to stay behind Hamilton, who's up into 14th place as they cross the line. Sergio Perez has a 1.2 second advantage over Charles Leclerc. Then comes Max Verstappen, Carlos Sainz, and Esteban Ocon. There's Lando Norris on the inside, getting ahead of Pierre Gasly and getting his elbows out right at the start.
What a move from the outside of turn 1. Wasn't quite contact at the exit of turn 2, but massive slide from Lando saying, I am through.
I wonder if Pierre Gasly's just struggling a touch out there as well. He's been overtaken twice now since the lights out, and Gasly has got Lance Stroll all over his rear wing as it stands at the moment. Perez and Leclerc, Verstappen and Sainz in the top 4. But we ought to mention that move, Max Verstappen on Carlos Sainz, how important that could be later on.
Yeah, it's really important because they can play a game with both Ferraris trying to keep Max behind. Obviously, they have to worry about Checo in front, but Max, I'm sure that as the world champion, that's the guy they want to try and keep behind.
Let's see the start then. Perez getting a great launch and covering off the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc. That then pushed Carlos Sainz out to the outside, and Verstappen doesn't need a second invitation.
Yeah, Carlos got such a good start that he's actually put him into a tricky position through turn one, trying to get around the outside of his teammate, and Max, open door, went for it.
On board with Max Verstappen. You can see how Sainz just got left a little bit vulnerable there by his teammate, who had to get out of the way of Perez.
Yeah, he did, and it's sometimes the problem when you get such a good start, you think, oh, I can have a go here, but he put himself on the wrong side of his teammate, and Max got through.
This is the start on board with Lewis Hamilton from 15th. Made up a place at the start, getting ahead of the Williams of Alex Albon, and just quite tentative there, and needed to be, because look at Daniel Ricciardo and Lance Stroll getting very close together.
Yeah, Lewis is not one for making the big moves on lap one. You know, he's thinking about the end game.
This is Joe Guan Yu. Valtteri Bottas had an issue, didn't he, at the start in Bahrain?
Yeah, it didn't sound very good. It sounded like he was on kind of the limiter when he pulled away. And then it sounds like he's gone into an anti-stall as well.
And he made contact with Daniel Ricciardo, which is why Ricciardo got a little bit closer to Lance Stroll than I'm sure he would have wanted. This is George Russell behind Esteban Ocon. Russell started 6th and he's currently 6th and trying to keep on the rear wing of that